Hey guys, this is Ed, Paul, and Anna of Curb Media, and we are here to tell you a little bit more about our sponsor.
Sportsball is a great subscription service geared towards minor league baseball fans. Each box features a different minor league team.
You get a box every 3 months with minor league baseball gear, including different styles of hats like Ed's favorite, the dad hat. The cost is less than $12 a month.
Proceeds from each box goes to More Than Baseball, the only nonprofit dedicated to the well-being of minor league baseball players.
We all know that Parents' Days are coming up this summer, so if you've got a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa who are particularly difficult to buy for, but you know they're baseball fans, this is the answer, guys.
Meet your new favorite team at sportsballbox.com.
Is there anybody there?
So I'm in love with the smaller schools. I mean, even the NAI schools are great. I mean, the communities out here really embrace those teams. They're in smaller towns, smaller communities, and it's a part of the town.
What's up, Deadhead Group? Ed here, and on this episode, I give you guys Jerry Quickel. He is a fellow collector. He collects some awesome football helmets from all sorts of college football, the NFL, you name it, he's got it. Let me tell you guys, it felt good to have an opportunity to go back to my roots and talk to fellow collectors, and it was a lot of fun. He even is a massive Kansas City Royals fans. I'll forgive him. I'm a Guardians fan, but hey, listen, it is what it is. But without further ado, guys, I give you the episode. All right. Well, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Obviously, you guys know who I am. My name is Ed. And with me today, guys, I have Jerry Quickel, who is listen, your collection, Jerry, is absolutely amazing. You collect a lot of cool stuff, especially football helmets. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Ed.
Oh, absolutely. I was telling you, before we started that I saw your Twitter account and I saw the amount of helmets that you have put out, and I'm like, I got to get this guy on. I got to find out the story behind how'd you started, why, and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of crazy how it all started. Yeah, be happy to tell you.
So let's start by this. Let's get started with how'd you become a fan of sports or of, especially football for you?
Okay. Well, that's pretty simple. My father was a high school football coach when I was a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
He, that just kind of came with the family. That was part of what we did. So he instilled the love for the game for all of us. So
and then from there, the addiction grew, huh?
Well, yeah, it all started when I was a little kid. The gumball helmets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't walk by those in the grocery store without throwing a fit and getting a helmet. And so I had those when I was a little kid, and then when I was roughly in high school, they Dairy Queen came out with the Sunday in the helmet, the first thing. Of course, they did the baseball helmets. Then they did the NFL helmets. I believe they actually did them in the CFL as well. So, that was a big deal. I wanted to get all of the NFL helmets out of the Dairy Queen. Of course, that was expensive when you were 10 years old. So
Hell yeah.
So it grew from there. And then, when I graduated from college, my first gig out of college was I was a Riddell rep. So I sold helmets and shoulder pads and uniforms and some of the other equipment stuff that went along with it. So I'd been around sporting goods forever, been around the game forever, kind of had a little bit of an in with Riddell on some of the stuff. And that's when I started really kind of picking them up here or there at a trade show or at a school or wherever it was that I might be. And it's grown to this. So,
so you became a rep with Riddell. How? That's pretty cool. First of all, I mean, that's a pretty reputable company to be working with.
Yeah, it's actually, it was my dream job. It just happened right out of the gate when I got out of school. But the problem with that is the way that industry was designed.
Yeah.
Was, it's a commission-based business, and you're really only going to make a lot of money if you're in a heavily populated area and there are a lot of schools and a lot of pull on that product. I live in Kansas. We've only got so many people out here, so many schools. Once I had a couple of kids, I needed to move on in my career and make some money. So that's where I got out of that and went on into the business world from that point on. But at least I had that experience. As I get older, I'm 57 right now. I get a little older. Maybe that's something I'd love to do in the twilight of my career when I don't really need to make a ton of money. So might as well do something you enjoy. So maybe I'll look back into that at the end here.
When you decide that you wanted to follow your dream job again.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
No,
it really was a dream for me to be able to do that. I was always infatuated with helmets and both baseball helmets and football helmets or hockey helmets or whatever it is. I just, I like, so it was cool to be able to work for them, and, still love them to this day. I just wish I could have made a living doing it. So,
and it does, obviously we both know already that, having a collection does get to be a little bit expensive.
Well, it can be. I have lucky enough, the way that I do things and with social media coming along, when I started collecting these things, it was the early 90s. And at that stage, a football helmet has 10-year life on it.
Yeah.
They're no good after 10 years. So everybody's got something that is outdated and they can't use. And so at that, just asking for it, these guys didn't really know. There wasn't a pull for it. They really didn't know what to do with it. So they just give them to you because they needed to get rid of them, get them out of there. So that was kind of the trick, and the hook was to talk to guys about it, and anything that they had that was outdated, they'd be happy to give you. So, but once college football took off to what it is today, there is a lot of money in the collecting part of it. And unfortunately, I'm not a guy that can play in that arena. So you see a lot of new stuff out there that's hand painted helmets that, I think BYU wore something this week that was hand painted one off. Utah wore some this week.
Yep.
Those things, $2,000 or $3,000 a piece if you're out there on the collector market. That's just not something I can play in. But
I love them. I have a replica one of my NFL team, the Cleveland Browns, but and that one is expensive just because of, right, it's an NFL team, and I can't play in that arena either. I'm like, I'm already priced out as it is.
Yeah, they're expensive, but most of the helmets that I get are sent to me at free of charge. And, I pay a lot of freight. Guys say, yeah, I'll send you one, but pay for the freight. There's no problem. I'll send them money for the freight. And we even made some donations to programs here or there, and especially in some of the schools that I know are underfunded, and just to help out where I can. But the coaching community and the equipment manager community has been so good to me. They think the collection is neat, and a lot of the smaller schools, I don't know if a lot of guys even really know who they are, let alone have somebody call on and interest in their program. So
that's what I like about your collection, is the fact that you have the small schools. That's my favorite part of all of this is, the Division II, Division III schools, right? I mean, they all have different names now, but that's my favorite part that I see when I look at your collection, because I've seen a couple of your pictures and videos on your Twitter account. Then I'm like, man, that is impressive. And some of them have some really cool logos that not a lot of people know about.
Sure. There's a lot of stuff out there that I don't have. And I'm a small college guy. When you're from Kansas, there's a lot of NAI schools out here that play football. We've got 4 Division II schools in this state. We've got 2 Division I schools that play in this state. So, but there are 24 schools in the state of Kansas that play football from junior college all the way up to Division I. So I have 23 of those. I'm still working on one of those. So,
Come on, number 24. Get it together, guys.
Dodge City Community College, you need to send me one of those things.
Yeah, let's go. So let me ask you. Okay, so let's go back a little bit here. So you decided that you wanted to start collecting. What was your first helmet that you collected? Your first ever, big, actual game worn helmet that you actually collected?
So the first one that I have is first one that I got, 1991, University of Kansas. And I got this because I was the Riddell rep and they were my customer. And on the weekends, I would work the home locker room and work the sidelines, just helping the equipment manager out. He was a good friend of mine and still is to this day. He retired a couple of years ago. But I've got 24 different University of Kansas helmets over the years. So, when you're a bad team, you usually change. Every time you get a coach, they change everything. So, I've got quite a few there. That's really my true love are the Jayhawks no, that's kind of how it started. That was the first one I got. And then my other customers, Kansas State, Missouri, the Kansas City Chiefs were a customer of mine. And all these guys are great guys and they're happy to help me out with some of the stuff. So
that's pretty cool. I remember the Jayhawks had this one with their bird on it, but it was with it looked like a missile, like a plane with like the billets on it. Oh, yeah. That one was amazing.
That is my all-time favorite helmet. That's the Warhawk. That they wear that. It was a World War II salute. There's a Jayhawk squadron of fighter pilots in World War II, and that is a salute to service helmet to those guys. And they wear that once a year. They wore it last week at Oklahoma for this year. The last year they wore it at Texas when they won at Texas. So that was pretty. Yeah, it's a great helmet, and they're hard to come by. So.
Yeah, those things. I was looking at it, and I was like, "Oh, I am impressed when I saw it." And I think it speaks volumes to now the way that college athletics has gone, right? That not only you have different uniforms, pants, socks, all that stuff, but the biggest accessory is the helmet, right? Every college has like 3 or 4 different designs that they put together. My alma mater, Kent State University, right? The Golden Flashes. They oh man, I am trying to get me one of those because that is my all-time favorite. They have some really cool ones, but it's like, is there a way of trying to also recruit players as well?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's all marketing these days, and Oregon started it. They had a program that was just kind of a run-of-the-mill average college football program. And Phil Knight got involved with his alma mater and wanted to figure out a way to make it relevant. And it worked. I mean,
that's a good way to make it relevant.
Yeah, they changed their uniforms there for, gosh, I don't know, it's 7 or 8 seasons. They didn't wear the same uniform at all.
Yeah.
So I think they've toned it down a little bit. They've got down to where they have 4 different colors of helmet now, where they had at one time they had up to 8 or 9. But they change. Everybody changes a lot of looks just with decals now too. So you may have 1 or 2 colors of a helmet in your inventory, but then you're able to change the look with different decals every week, and so it gives you a new presentation. So.
And it's funny because you say that, Oregon was the one that started it, but now you also have the big schools like, Ohio State and all these other schools are like, where they're very, very traditional when it comes to what they wore. It's like, no, we don't want to change. And all of a sudden you got Ohio State bringing out the all black helmet, or, different variations, Michigan, right? Michigan State, all these Big Ten schools. And then you're like, all right, SEC teams are doing the same thing.
Yeah, I like the way when those traditional programs do it, they only do it once a year. I
Yep.
like that. Notre Dame has their Shamrock Series. They do once a year. They'll wear something, but then it's back to tradition. I love that about those programs. I totally get it with the guys trying to market their program and make it look different. But there's no marketing involved with the big guys. We are. If you're Michigan, you're Michigan.
Yeah. All you have to say is we're Michigan. And I was like, all right, fine. You recruited me. All right, cool. You're paying my school tuition.
Yeah. So it's cool. But I do love the smaller schools. That is really my jam.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Division II school here in Emporia State University, which is a great school out here in Kansas. And so I'm in love with the smaller schools. I mean, even the NAI schools are great. I mean, the communities out here really embrace those teams. They're in smaller towns, smaller communities, and it's a part of the town. So it's more almost like a high school atmosphere.
Yeah,
where the town gets involved.
And it's funny you say that because I'm originally from Ohio, from Cleveland, right? And then you always heard of the small schools, Mount Union, right? Like that was like the Purple Raiders, right? Like I mean, that's a small school right there. That's like, everybody knows who they are when you say that. And I am a huge fan of the smaller schools, the lower division schools, because one, their playoff format is a whole lot better than what they have. And I'm like, oh, newsflash, guys, playoff format works. It's been done for a long time.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing about that is the kids that are playing at those levels are kids that really want to play. They love the game and they'll do whatever. The big time kids, I mean, you see some of them out there you don't even really think like to play, but they're just talented enough that's how they do it. But if you're playing Division III football somewhere, you're playing because you love to play the game, and that's the opportunity you have.
You got an opportunity to get a degree, and you're at the same time you're still playing football, and why not?
Yeah, it's a great thing, and I love it. And I don't know why it got this out of hand for me, but the social media, being 57, it was never really a big thing for me social media wise. But my daughter talked me into, posting one saying, you got to put one or two of those up on your Twitter page. And, I had like 100 followers or something, and all guys that I knew. And I put those up, and, the next thing I've got 4,000 followers.
Yeah.
ESPN retweeted a couple of my things earlier this year, and it was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, listen, I'm looking at a video right now that you have pinned from, April last year, where you're talking about your up, and there it is. There's the one that I was talking about, the Warhawk helmet that just came through on the video. I mean, it's cool to see fellow collectors, and that's the beauty of it, right? Like, I mean, there's so many ways that you can start collecting. I collected that hats, obviously, but like with you with helmets, and it's like, that's impressive. Like the amount of time and dedication that you have to put in order for you to do the research, reach out to, equipment managers and schools. I mean, that takes a long time. I take it.
Yeah, it sure does. I'll sit down and maybe on a Saturday, I'll write 100 letters, emails. And it takes quite a while. I've got a cycle of about probably 350 schools that I still don't have anything from. And I try not to bug them too much. Every couple of months I'll send out a letter, but the social media thing really, really took off. And I've had people reach out when ESPN retweeted I had taken a picture of myself in my yard with all of my helmets. And,
I'm looking at it right now. That is, you literally took out all those helmets, put it in the yard. Cause I mean, I'm looking at your background right now behind you, and like you have it all beautiful setup, and you just took them all down.
Yeah. So it's crazy. That was a mistake. I'll tell you that right at the beginning. My wife was out of town, and I thought, well, I'm going to clean this basement. When you've got all this down here, you can dust and you can maintain it fairly well, but it's really hard to do a real good clean of it.
Right.
I took everything, I started carrying them upstairs, and you get about 6 to 8 of them at a time. but when you got 450 of them, that's you do the math on the trips. And so
you
I got
put your Apple watch on, and then there goes the step counter for the day.
it's like I got about halfway through and went, holy smokes, this was a bad move. But do you turn around and go back, or do you press on? And so I got out there, and as I got them piled up out there, I went, yeah, now I got to go clean this basement, and I'm worried about somebody stealing stuff out of my front yard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I didn't think it through, but
That's impressive.
My son came over to help me put them all back in, and he called a couple of his buddies, and that's when we took some photos. Was when those guys got here, and then they brought them all back in. All I did was hang them up. So
I mean, I can see a couple of them. You got Western Kentucky, Ohio, Middle Tennessee, South Dakota, obviously Kansas, Duke, UNC, NC State, Wake Forest, Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, you got some big Bowling Green right there.
Yeah, I've got all Division One FBS helmets, with the exception of 4. There's 4 of them so there's 131 of them. I've got 127. So yeah, I'm missing a couple: Georgia State and Old Dominion and Southern and Charlotte.
The 49ers.
Yeah. So those are the 4 I don't have of Division One, and then as you break it down in FBS, I believe I've got 59. I've got 93 Division Twos.
That's impressive.
41 Division Threes. 50 NAI helmets. 9 or 10 junior college helmets. Got a couple high school helmets from around here. For the local coaches have given them to me. I kind of out of room, but yeah, I'd love to have them.
Heck yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. I'm definitely going to have to work with you on, getting me a Kent State. Do you have a Kent State one?
I've got a Kent State one. I don't have a connection there at the moment, but the guys so I mentioned my buddy at the University of Kansas that was equipped. Well, the staff from Kent State, Glenn Mason, was hired at Kansas from Kent. So those guys all came from Kent State, and he got me my Kent State helmet. So it's a little old. It's got the flash with the bird head on the side of it, but it's a sweet looking lid. So
yeah, we're definitely going to have to work together on that one, because I would like to add it to this collection here, because that's impressive. But man, there's some cool ones there. They are some cool ones.
Yeah, there's some really neat stuff out there.
Air Force, I see that as well.
Yeah.
Virginia Military, there it is.
VMI, that's a hard one to get. I'd love to get the Citadel to go with it. They're rivals, and I can't get the Citadel to respond to me, but we'll see.
Come on, Citadel, let's go.
Yeah, I got Navy, Army, Air Force, and VMI.
That's cool. Marshall, UTEP, Oregon, Missouri. I'm Alabama right there. I see. I mean,
most of those larger schools that I have are older helmets too.
Yeah.
They were back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was still pretty active, and so there were other Riddell reps that were saving me rejects out of the bags of reconditioning, things like that. So if I were to call up Alabama today and go, hey, I got this,
they will laugh at you.
Probably laugh at me and go, yeah, stand in line with all of our donors.
Right. I was like, no, we still got wait. Other people don't, can't get it right now.
Yeah,
but you got one though, which is cool, because even if it's an older one, that still, holds value, right? Because a lot of people are going to want to get one.
Oh, yeah. Well, the older ones, they're actually the more desirable ones.
Yeah.
People are really, you don't see them anymore. They're just threw them away. There weren't a lot of them out there. So
that's crazy.
You're lucky enough to have gotten some of that stuff, but I love the old stuff.
How many NFL ones do you have?
I have all of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got all of them. Now, a couple of them are new. They're not gamers, but I've got some gamers in there too. And I've actually got 18 of the 19 USFL helmets.
What?
That were out there, and yeah, so
the original USFL, right? Like this is the original USFL.
Yeah, I don't have any of those that came back last year. I just have the ones when I was in high school. Let's put it.
What about the CFL?
I don't have a single CFL helmet, and I probably should reach out and see if I can make that happen.
That would be cool. Yeah, there's some cool helmets, like the BC Lions. That's a cool one. The Rough Riders. That's another one. Red Black. So those will be some cool ones to collect.
Yeah. I'd love to get those eventually. Got to pick and choose these days because I'm running out of space. But
I was just gonna ask about that. So you're running out of space. Where do you put the extra stuff? Like you put them in
they're all over the place. They're actually organized very well. I try and keep them by conference, but conference realignment, I have to stuff all over the place. But I have an office down here as well that has. I could actually take some stuff off of the walls and slat that out and hang another 100 or so if I got or so. I just, I've got them. They're pretty much everywhere.
That's awesome. So you said that you spend a Saturday, you just turn on college football and then, that ESPN Plus, because now the ESPN Plus shows so many other, games now that you can watch pretty much whatever. The other day, I just put the quad box and then I just put 4 different games and off I went.
Yeah. Yeah. I do all kinds of stuff like that. I watch a lot of Division II games. Some very competitive football, and there's some NFL caliber players, not the whole team, but you'll see some really good players at that level. But typically I won't send anything during the season at all. These guys don't have time for me. They don't want to hear me bugging them. Now I've had guys reach out during the season and send some stuff to me. But I typically don't start asking until probably that last week of the season.
When everything is just
right. There's a sweet spot in there where the season ends and then the reconditioners come to take the equipment to get it recertified. So if you can catch them before those guys get a hold of everything, those coaches will typically have them hold out anything that's too old. And
interesting.
So there's a sweet spot there, and then there's a sweet spot when they come back after Christmas break. They'll start getting some reconditioning back, and they'll have some, they call them fails, reconditioned fails. So if they've got those hanging around, that's a good time to get a hold of them. But coaching college football is a year-round thing. There are no days off, really. So there's a couple really sweet spots in there. They have summer camps all on their campus. So that's really where they supplement their income. They're allowed to have these summer camps, and they don't get, a lot of these guys at smaller schools don't get paid a lot, but they do get to keep money from their camp. And so that's a big time for them. So you hate bugging guys during the time where they actually can make a little extra money.
Yeah.
So there's, it's kind of an art form to not make everybody mad, but
just you got, like you said, you got to find that sweet spot where they can send you on, talk to you, and then go from there.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I stop in when I travel. If I'm out traveling for work, I just stop in and show guys pictures of what I do. And I like to say it, I'm undefeated in person.
Yeah, I like it. I'm undefeated in person. Can't say no.
Typically they'll do whatever they can to help me if I show up in person, because it's easier for them. They've all got this stuff. It's a matter of getting them to pull it, redecal it, put it in the mail. I mean, that's a pretty big ask for free.
Yeah. Like, hey, can I have one of your old helmets that you guys are not using? Pretty please.
Yes. But when you show up in person, they love to talk to you. I mean, there's always somebody there that wants to talk to you. And, smaller schools, you hunt up the head coach, and typically he's calling the shots on everything.
It's true. Nowadays, like you said, football is a year-round business. It's just how that goes. Like, you're if you're not doing recruiting, you're doing spring ball or getting ready for the fall and all of that fun stuff. And like you said, summer camps, that's another moneymaker. So you gotta be working.
Yeah, and they gotta, they re-recruit a coaching staff every year. I mean, it's an extremely transient business. Guys will be there for a year and then they'll move on, they'll move up, they'll move to a different place. And so these head coaches have to re-recruit their own coaches to fill out a staff. And then they're never done recruiting kids. I mean, they're recruiting kids. So it's a big job these guys have. And the smaller the school, typically the more is on the head coach. So if you go to a large Division I school and you want to talk helmets, you talk to the equipment guy. You don't even, and if you bring the coach in for aesthetics, I want this color, I want that color, I want these decals, I want this look. But the equipment guy usually handles all of that. The ordering,
pretty much, yeah.
The further you go down, the more the head coach is actually involved in doing all of it. And so I appreciate their time, and I appreciate their commitment to their job. And I don't want to, certainly don't want to get in their way of doing what they need to do. But these guys have been, I can't tell you how great it's been to meet all these coaches and all these equipment guys and see how they respond to this. It's just been fantastic. I never dreamed anybody would give a crud about this collection other than myself and a couple of my buddies that think it's pretty cool.
I think it's amazing. I mean, like I said, I'm a collector, so I appreciate when I see other collections like yours that it's is cool to see. And listen, and if I was to visit your house, I'd be like, hey, take me to your, the man cave, because that's where I want to see. I want to see what you got there, because that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I'm a baseball fan too, so I've made it to every Major League Baseball park, and not only have I made it to every Major League park, I made it to probably 100 different college parks and minor league parks.
Now we got to talk. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's talk, because I'm a huge minor league fan, right? Yeah. Obviously a lot of these hats that you see back here, the majority of them, 90% of them, 95% of them are minor league hats. Independent, college, collegiate wood bat, sure. You name it, I got it back there. So so you're a huge baseball fan. What's your major league team?
Oh, the Royals. Here.
The Royals. You're Royals. We're rivals, you and me, my friend.
We get good every 10 years. We'll have a good year or two, and then we're back to the bottom. So
I'm a Guardians fan, so I understand. We've had our good years. We have our bad years. This year was a really good year. Did not expect them to make it to the playoffs. I was very happy. So I get it.
Yeah. It's a real up and down thing, but I not only have I been to every major league park, I've caught a ball at every major league park.
Oh, you thought you were going to continue with the episode and you were going to hear his story on how he has collected baseball at every single Major League Baseball stadium? Well, you still can next week. So I'm going to stop it right here. We are going to continue this conversation, Jerry and I. We go into some depth here, guys, on baseball. So stay tuned for next week. It is a really good interview. I promise you that. Okay. But before I go, I am going to give you guys the joke of the episode, which is, what do football players do when they get overheated? They get closer to some other fans. All right. I'll see myself out. And until then, guys, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean. And I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at @PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Learn more about Curve Brim Media at curvebrandmedia.com.